everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, a little after 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll be having a time for change call tomorrow night, Wednesday, August 24th, 2022, 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll have a reverse aging health call on Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're all born with a tremendous possibility of intelligence. We are born with a light within us. Listen to the still small voice within, and that will guide you. Nobody else can guide you. Nobody else can become a model for your life because you are unique. This is your glory, your grandeur, that you are utterly irreplaceable, that you are just yourself and nobody else. We are absolutely perfect just as we are. We're taught at an early age to believe the opposite. We do not need to do anything, have anything, be with anyone, or even teach some lofty, dreamy goal to find perfection inside. The truth is that we are perfect because our inherent nature is divine. At the innermost core of every atom is perfection. This universe is the divine, perfect existence. We are part of this universe. So we are part of the perfection. It's a choice for us to give in to this perfection, and we will feel a whole heck of a lot better. The only reason we may not experience this perfection every day is because our minds have been playing games with us. Our minds have been comparing, judging, scheming, trying, and focusing obsessively on all the many flaws, problems, and imperfections it is imagining. So it's basically wake up and be aware. Even though the mind may believe in these imperfections, doesn't mean they exist. It's always our choice to live in this delusional reality of the mind or not. The perfection is always here, especially when the mind cannot see it. The mind can only perceive imperfections by narrowing its focus, and this focus stops it from seeing, feeling, and experiencing the greater whole. Once the mind completely surrenders to existence, then the perfection is realized. Yet we must dive all the way to the center of the mind, beneath our core beliefs that say we must do X, Y, Z to be loved, wealthy, healthy, and happy. It's almost like we're like in these ships, right? And we're not the ship. We know that. And we're directing the ship, right? And we watch the ship as it expresses itself, which is the mind ego. But we are not the ship. You see what I mean? What's happened to this civilization is that we have become so involved in the material that we believe we are the material. You see what I mean? In other words, stepping outside the material gives us the opportunity to view the body, the ego mind, the subconscious mind. We view it, we watch it, but we know we are not part of it. We are not the body. So it's like the ego mind is the engine, the starship engine, the power that moves it, right? And we steer it in the direction we want it to go. That's mastering our thoughts, which is the mind, and our egos. Because when we're looking at the mind, we know that it can only perceive imperfections by narrowing its focus. And this focus stops it from seeing, feeling, and experiencing the greater whole. The moment we undermine a core belief, we release it and instantly connect back with the perfection of existence. The moment we undermine a core belief, we release it and instantly connect back with the perfection of existence. Our minds narrow so that it can, in one moment, open up to the infinite universe with you at its very center. The day we've transcended all our core beliefs, we will be realizing that perfection has always been inside us, because we will be seeing it everywhere on the outside. Everything is truly perfect. All positive and negative things, thoughts and experiences, are perfect in themselves. They're like colors on a palette. Each emotion has a different color, energy, and frequency to it. Wouldn't the world be a dull and sad place if we decided that half of the colors on the palette were not acceptable and got rid of them? What would the world be like if the color blue or green were blinded from our eyes? Just as the diversity of colors on the planet makes life exceptionally beautiful, so does our palette of feelings. Every experience we have contributes to the exquisite beauty and perfection of our lives. There are many distractions that pull us from the truth of our divinity. If we're always fighting off negative thoughts or feelings, these inner demons take up our time and simply overlook the perfection of our divine essence. Remember, these inner saboteurs are perfect within the bigger picture. Any inner struggle against them is what is causing our suffering, and not the situation or person which triggered the negative feelings. The secret is to know ourselves intimately with all of our parts, accepting whatever arises for us, be it joy, sadness, or anger, is absolutely perfect. Suffering only occurs when we try to resist, defend, hold onto, or charge any feeling of thought passing through. If thoughts are like trains on train tracks, suffering would be standing on the tracks trying to stop one of them. Now, if you get attached somehow to one repetitive, stagnant thought, and we do that, you eventually get wrapped up in the musty feelings that come with it, and the cycle of suffering begins. And believe it or not, this too is perfect. Suffering is that one life lesson that is guaranteed to change the way you do life. After enough suffering, your ego becomes bored with all the drama and is eager to enjoy another new color on the palette. It has more awareness now and is completely ready for an expansive new state of mind. Everything in existence is absolutely perfect. If you only knew a fraction of it, you'd never make another complaint again. The negative things that you see and experience in this life are not negative in nature. The mind is always interpreting everything and labeling things as good and bad. Experiencing this grand perfection around us and inside of us occurs the instant we transcend this labeling machine. When we finally relax into what exists beneath the mind, the walls come down and we start seeing the perfection of existence. We all have had this veil of delusionment, right? It's time to remove it, and that's a choice. And start celebrating the perfection of who we all truly are. If we just can't see it inside or outside our bodies, then we simply focus on the energy and quality of nature. Nature is perfect and will eventually open our eyes to it. We meditate on the perfection of all the animals, clouds, ocean, plants, the sky, stars in existence. This is what we are connected to on the most intimate levels. When we finally surrender to nature in our outer world, it's easy to find our divinely perfect nature in our inner world. How many of us celebrate the perfection around us and inside of us? How many of us would be jumping up and down every morning shouting, "I am perfect and so is this universe"? This is a technique that is used, and for some they think it's very strange. You know, it's childish, and there's all kinds of negative, pessimistic coming from the ego mind. It's kind of like jumping for joy, literally. Anytime you're feeling stuck in a rut, closing your heart off in a relationship, shutting down emotionally, or judging yourself for any reason, don't try to stop the heavy, hard feelings from arising. Allow them to rise and jump for joy, that their departure is also part of the perfection. Every time you leap off the ground with joy, your sense of knowing this perfection inside you will grow. One day, you will know in your heart of hearts that you are an absolutely perfect being in every way, who is the most magnificent light shining brilliantly onto the world. But how are we today in this now? As a people, how are we? You begin to realize that you're in the material physical world. You're immersed in it. Suffer, struggle, fear. And the interesting thing, those are all just thoughts. Okay? It's like fear can be utilized in certain situations if you're commanding the starship. If you're in command and you're navigating that ship, right? And you're not the ship. You can see this. You can see these illusions that come in as thought, and they have no substance. You give them substance. So you make a choice. Here comes a fear thought. Now, the fear thought can just flow right through you. And it's gone. But most of us will grab onto the fear thought. We will give it energy. We will move it into form. We will create it into reality. And we will experience it. Every time. And none of us are exempt from this. We really aren't. Everybody has different degrees of it, but we all do it. Love is our true essence. Love has no limitations of caste, religion, race, or nationality. We are all beads strung together on the same thread to love, of love. To awaken this unity and to spread to others the love that is our inherent nature is the true goal of human life. Amachi. If we could only keep quiet, clear of memories and expectations, we would be able to discern the beautiful pattern of events. It is our restlessness that causes chaos. As a Gadada Mirage. This is a choice to meditate on the nature of the mind. And each of us could do it, and we have the ability to do it. It may take months of internal investigation, closely watching how the mind works, why it thinks, what it thinks, how it tends to repeat itself. You soon begin understanding the great manifesting mystery of life on a more intimate and spiritual level. You begin to notice every day that no matter what you would do, your mind continues on this deep, relentless search for truth, love, joy, pleasure, and happiness. No matter how satisfied you are, or that in that particular day, hour or minute before, the mind returns to its old habit of yearning for something more. There is only one direction that it wants to go, to evolve, grow, expand, improve, and learn how to find ways to become more satisfied. It's all about satisfying, 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 satisfying. And then you realize that the mind even wants to understand itself better, thinking that if it found a richer understanding of itself, then this would finally lead to a more happiness and real satisfaction. This is how convoluted the mind is. It will believe anything. You may also notice that when you feel sad, lethargic, depressed, or just wanted to give up on manifesting your dream life, the mind still continues its perpetual search for some form of happiness, just on another level. The more often that you would sit back from the mind and watch it, you begin to realize how deeply programmed it is, and that there's really nothing that can be done about it. The mind is on a sacred, holy quest, devoted to this grand divine search at the core program. It cannot be interested in being content, relaxed, rested, and supremely at peace. It prefers to be entertained by something interesting, deep, sparkly, rich, tempting, or maybe an idea that would make it feel loved, special, or important. The mind doesn't have the capacity to rest forever in a state of happiness, because if it did, we would not evolve. Think about it. What if the mind was totally satisfied? What would happen to our world? Would we even look deeper into this question at all? Would we care about anything of any real meaning in this life? If so, why would we? Throughout our entire lives, this seeking mechanism is one machine we cannot turn off, nor would we really want to. We simply choose, or not, to be deeply aware that this perpetual seeking machine is always running. The divine design of the mind is perfect, and we simply need to understand its perfection if we are to really enjoy life and find our spiritual journey here. We choose to understand first that desire is not the cause of suffering. Rather, it's our attachment to desire which holds us to the state of anxiety. To be continuously wanting, wishing, and thinking is utter hell. To be continuously wanting, wishing, thinking is utter hell. To be able to rest, relax, and enjoy the radiant, healing, golden energy from the great spiritual light from within us all is absolute bliss. I think that's a pretty stark clarity there. To be continuously wanting, wishing, and thinking is utter hell. To be able to rest, relax, and enjoy the radiant, healing, golden energy from the great spiritual light from within us all is absolute bliss. Our mind has been embedded for centuries, millenniums, with this ancient, unsatisfied program for one very wonderful reason. A great creativity and manifesting fire gets ignited when we believe the grass is greener, richer, and softer, and more lush in the neighbor's yard. Sure, the mind can get crazy, start thinking the neighbors must be smarter, happier, and more enlightened because they have greener grass. Chances are high that the neighbors don't actually have greener grass than you, but you can't tell that truth to the seeking, desiring mind. The good news is that an enormous fire of desire is lit when we see that we just don't have it all. The mind is a genius at believing whatever it wants to believe is true. The mind is a genius at believing whatever it wants to believe is true. It can only see a fraction of the whole truth. It cannot contain the entire universal truth all the time. It would be out of a job if it had that knowledge. It's a master at inventing super creative stories about our limitations in this world, which fill us up with this amazing experience called insecurity. Now, these wonderful insecure feelings are perfectly designed to push us onto our spiritual path. They provoke us to dig deeper. So we stop functioning in automatic robot mode and find our real purpose for being alive. Our insecurity causes us to drop the mind games, so we start stoking our real spiritual fire, unleashing our deepest motivation, our highest inspiration, and our richest creativity inside. Unless you become a Buddha, you have not lived at all, because you will not know the great poetry of this life, the great music of existence. You will not know the celestial celebration that goes on and on and on. You will not know the dance of the stars. This bliss is for you. All these flowers and all these songs and all these stars are for you. You are entitled to miracles. Osho. We are born to evolve. This civilization is evolving. It isn't talked about much, but we are evolving. We are expanding our consciousness, and eventually we will all become awakened Buddhas. A Buddha simply means one who has stopped sleeping. That's what Buddha means. One who has stopped sleeping. One who is aware, self-realized, and living fully in the now. It's perhaps the easiest and most natural way we can experience life. Yet, it means we have to learn, unlearn everything we believe to be the reason why we are here. Okay? It is perhaps the easiest and most natural way we can experience this life, yet it means we choose, or not, to unlearn everything we believe to be the reason why we are here. To stimulate the enlightened path in our lives, we need to create more space and room to grow. We need to feel the lack of something and experience the great emptiness that is all around. This empty feeling is always available, inherent within each desire that comes from the mind. To reach the enlightened state, we must choose to dive into the mind, let it go. We must choose to let the mind believe that the neighbor's grass is greenner than our own, and realize how ridiculous it is to be comparing grass in the first place. We must choose to notice all the places in our lives where we are comparing ourselves with others, with people we look up to, saying that they have something we don't. We must allow the mind to be brimming with jealousy, full with desire, so much that it implodes onto this fantastic empty universe that is exploding with life. When we allow the mind to do what it does, it will eventually invent some fantastic new organic, healthier way to grow better grass, and one day have greener grass than the neighbors. With a glorious new imagined goal and destination to be entertained by, the mind can provoke us to expand our consciousness, playing its endless games within game, inside of itself, just for the pure discovery of all the many multidimensional joys and pleasures of being alive. What else do you want to do with your time here on Earth? Nurture your mind with great thoughts, for you will never go any higher than you think. Benjamin Disraeli. One word of caution to all of us on our manifesting journey. Be very aware of that. The mind is a Jedi master in a way at distracting us from what's spiritually real and essential. And yes, this distraction is also sacred, needed, and divine for when we finally give up seeking and attend to what actually is spiritual and real. We see how the distraction was not really a distraction, but a truly essential ingredient in directing our path towards a spiritual awakening. It's quite beautiful to sit back and recognize how perfect every aspect of existence actually is. Nothing is actually imperfect or actually as we think it is. Our addictions are glorious. Our perpetual search for something better is deeply needed for our enlightenment. What we think will make us happy is the essential illusion needed to find the real. And this feeling that we are lacking something is this succulent dangling chocolate dangling on the golden string to get us to come out of our dark caves. Perfection is everywhere and in everything and always. The divine beings we all truly are is ridiculously intelligent. It is so spiritually smart. It knows where we are hiding and exactly how to get us to come out. It realizes that we would never know what true wholeness was like unless we believed we had a hole to fill. We cannot know what blissful freedom feels like until we experience the most imprisoning, limiting state of mind. The great mystery of this life has this miraculous way of continuously teaching us what we most need to know for our enlightenment. There is not a moment that goes by where this universe is not inviting us to dive deeper inside and surrender more completely into the healing depths of our souls. We are constantly being summoned to come out of hiding. This universe wants us to appreciate this sweet spiritual gift of existence. It is always giving the God source to us to liberate ourselves from the internal catacomb-like prisons of the mind. We are being constantly welcomed to see everything in our lives with absolute love and clarity. We always have this option to sit down, relax about it all, and understand our life's mission. Right now, we can stop everything, choose to live in total devotion and connection with our heart's spiritual presence. We were all born to discover that we are amazing, multidimensional, divine manifesting beings who can create anything we desire. Create anything we desire. This huge and truly awesome task requires that we unleash our full power and reveal our ultimate treasure inside. The greatest treasure we have is found once we stop the mind and rest at our source of consciousness. This is meditation and is the divine doorway to opening our lives up to the highest states of energy, love, and consciousness. This temporary stopping of the mind happens every day. Yet it's just whether we are doing it consciously or it's being done to us and have no way to create it. Perhaps both are true. Yet when we allow a new perception of reality, in like this one, it can radically change our lives forever. Remember, the coin has three sides to it, and they are all true. It's not so much the doing, but the undoing that actually makes a shift occur. Letting go of the most minor shifts in perception, the slightest adjustments to how we are seeing this life, can totally transform out our entire experience of who and what we are. And remember, the greatest guru is always within you. The greatest guru is always within you, Ramon Morishi. Use your mind instead of being used by your mind. Worship, respect, honor, and love this brilliant, all-powerful tool so you can create what you want in your life. Choose to stop being unconsciously used by the tool. If you don't use the tool consciously, you will be used by it. This means don't get over-identified with your tool. Don't avoid your tool. Do not fight with your tool. The mind is not who you are. You are not the tool. Even if the mind tells you that you are a no-good failure 10,000 times, just know that you are 10,000 times closer to stepping back to become more conscious of your tool addiction and stop being used by it. Deep down, realize your soul is ultimately in charge and running the show. Trust in this always. Trust that this life has a higher intelligence than you'll ever understand, and it is taking you on the most exquisite, unique ride through this world so that one day you can sit back, become the Jedi Master of your mind, and experience the greatest form of satisfaction and pleasure. On this manifesting journey, a little bit more advice. which is one of the most helpful ideas to learn, is this: become devoted to being gentle with yourself, no matter what, no matter what, no matter what. When you can be gentle with your mind, you will master it and eventually be free from it. The mind will listen to you instead of you always listening to it. When you can have full mastery over the mind, all you feel is a great love and gentleness with everything, thought, memory, and experience you come across on your inner world. This is real mastery. When you can be gentle no matter what, no matter how crazy, irate, or demanding the world becomes, make the promise to yourself right now that you will be gentle with you no matter what occurs, no matter what. Enjoy the journey. It's guaranteed to get even better. 10,000 deep, eternal loving to you and everyone. This earth has enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. Mahatma Gandhi. What is the biggest, what do you believe is the biggest deterrent on the stymieing of this planet and the civilization? What is the formidable frequency? Greed. Greed of everything. Greed of power. Greed of control. Greed. Where does greed stem from? The ego mind. Where is greed created? Insecurity. Ego mind. You see how everything is connected? How we learn, we come so much as full circle, and we compare, and we say, why are so many of us into greed? Insecurity. And what is really insecure within us? Ego mind. You see, you begin to realize there are certain pieces that you turn within, you start staying within, and you start realizing how these tools work. Because you're not in them anymore. Because you've moved into the now, and that's your decision to move into the now through the breath. These are all connected. You focus on the breath, easy and slowly in through the nose, easy and slowly out through the mouth. You listen to the breath, you go into the heart mind, and you're in the now. And as you go deeper, you then look at things like greed is generated through insecurity through the ego mind, because the ego mind is insecure. So this is how they teach us. So then we begin to master them, utilize them as effective tools rather than them utilizing us as effective tools. So we go within. And we realize it. And we come out of the control factor of the ego mind. We start to realize that what is the ego mind teaching us? We start looking at things. So we identify in this planet, those are those who are completely mastered by their Jedi master, the ego mind. It directs them, it tells them what to do, how to be, how to feel, so on and so forth. That's a good thing, because when we begin to discover, when we go inside, we start identifying these things by being in the now, staying in the now, focusing on our breath, being super gentle, kind, generous, and humble with ourselves, being in super deep gratitude for everything in this life. These are all key elements to practice and embrace. This leads each of us to the discovery of how to master the ego mind. And then when we master the ego mind, we're then able to utilize the ego mind as tools. And then eventually, the ego mind won't exist, because we will have learned. The earth has enough to satisfy every man's need, woman, child, all of it. But not every man's greed. Many of us on this planet do not take responsibility for our lives. We look for guidance, leadership to tell us what to do, how to do it, when to do it. If you take the responsibility for your life, you can start changing it. If you don't take responsibility for your life, how are you going to change it? It isn't in your direction. It's in something out there through the ego mind telling you that you need to follow direction, you need to follow the leaderships, you need to follow this, follow that. Listen for this. You'll be saved by them. This will be taken care of by them. This will all be done by them for you. See? That's if you don't take the responsibility for your life. If you don't, you won't be able to change it. This is the repetitive cycle. Slow, once you do take responsibility for your life, you can start changing it. Slow will be the change. Slow will be the change. Only in the course of time will you start moving into the world of light and crystallization. But once you are crystallized, you will know what real revolution is. Then share your revolution with others. It has to go that way, from heart to heart. It's a cycle for us, and it's a repetitive cycle for all of us. Many of us are manifesting a more challenging experience of life than is necessary, simply because we are spending more time trying to deal with life through our heads rather than using our hearts. This is a habitual head trip, and it can leave us feeling dry and disconnected from living our passion, finding our mission, and discovering our juicy soul purpose. By constantly overanalyzing ourselves, others, and the infinite material details of this world, we fall into some attempt to be in control of life, and later feel bound by experiences of loneliness, separation, and isolation. Spending too much time up in the head, we forget how to access our heart's natural wisdom and its infinite resources of love, compassion, and divine connection. The power of living from the heart center is enormous and deeply transformational. The heart holds the key to our most expansive and enlightened state of being. By simply holding our awareness on our heart center for even a few minutes, we can spark the ignition to fire up a deeper spiritual connection with this life. In just a few minutes, the heart slowly begins opening, expanding our consciousness, and allows us to feel what it's like to totally trust in this life and ourselves. This open heart lets us know we are held in the hands of this universe, showing us how we can relax deeply, completely, while we listen to the sacred heartbeat of God pulsing from inside. If we wish, if and when we wish, to find out what living life is like as a fully self-realized enlightened being, we must choose to live in complete devotion to our heart. The heart must become our fundamental base and spiritual guide. It must be the source where we find clarity about how to say what we most need to say and what are the most loving actions we could take today. In order to reach this enlightened state, we must choose to reach deep into our souls, beyond our minds, and allow ourselves to feel all of those rich, juicy, good and bad human feelings buried inside us. We must choose to feel all the darkness and all the lightness inside ourselves, while trusting that the spiritual fire from the heart is powerful and bright enough to transcend it all. Maintaining a perpetually open, loving heart is the secret to a beautiful life. The quality of an open heart keeps us warm, loved, and feeling safe. If ever life should treat us in a cold, bitter fashion, one might say that if you're able to keep your heart open 24 hours a day for 7 days a week, you can only manifest positive, successful, intimate relationships with everyone in your life. It's truly impossible to get hurt in any relationship if your heart refuses to close. You simply reconnect to an infinite source of love instead of getting sucked into playing the role of the angry victim. The enlightened one lives only in the heart. When he or she moves about and deals with people and things, he or she knows that what is seen is not separate from the one supreme reality, the Brahman, the self, what is real, or Maharishi. The visualization can greatly expand the love energy and vibration of your heart. In just a few minutes, you can notice a shift in the feeling of warmth, lightness, and love expanding inside your chest. A happier consciousness will soon begin bubbling up inside you. You'll feel you are being deeply connected with an infinitely healing source of love. You can practice this visualization every morning and evening. You'll experience the energy of deep eternal love growing inside your body and spreading throughout your life. The more often you meditate, the greater you'll increase your overall manifesting ability. and capacity to remain in a constant positive flow for as long as you choose. Ask yourself the question, are you awake? Each moment, there is an awake energy, awake, aware energy here now. Know that this cannot change. Rest deeply in this knowingness. It will create a transformation in your being. It is exactly what you will need today for transcending your very next unconscious momentary lapse of mental jargon. So are you awake? I'll join you in the meditation, and I'll return to close us out.
Take an easy, slow breath in through the nose, and an easy, slow breath out of the mouth. Remain still. This very moment contains everything. Surrender it, surrender to it, and guess what? You'll actually get the whole universe with it. There is an extraordinary depth to any seemingly ordinary life. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the evening and night, the following morning. And we will return here Wednesday, August 24th, 2022, 3 p.m. Eastern to continue our global guided meditation call, and 9 p.m. Eastern, to continue our Time for Change call.